So we're going to be building a to-do list, yeah, and use that to-do list as a means or as what's the name, as a prototype for practicing a few things with regards to arrays and objects. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as we mentioned over time, array is actually a collection of items. So it could be collection of anything in the world that makes up arrays, collection of items, collection of objects, collection of names, collection of whatever it is you are collecting makes up an array. Okay. So we call a to-do list. We do what we call a to-do list. Does anybody know what a to-do list is?
I told you to see the doctor.
Does anybody know what a to-do list is? Anybody wants to indulge us, has an idea what a to-do list is? Anybody? Nobody knows what a to-do list is. Are you busy taking attendance? List of necessary activities. Okay, to-do list is jotting down what needs to be done. Okay, Aishat, actually is jotting down what needs to be done for the day. Okay. Aishat, go ahead. Then Chinelu. Aishat, please go ahead. And then Chinelu, you're up next.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
A to-do list is a list of something you intend to do, probably for a day or within a specific period of time.
I'm not sure I got that. Please, can you say that again?
I said a to-do list is a list of something you intend to do, probably for
Okay.
a day or within a specific time.
Okay, that works. That works. So can we see my screen? Yeah, I think Wabuzo Awele says it's a list for listing your tasks according to priority. Okay, that still works. So I believe you can see my screen, right? Yep. So I'm not going to delete all these guys. I'm just going to create another JS file. So I'll call it todo.js. I call it todo.js. Let me just increase this. Okay. We'll go live. Now we're going to be using an array to actually build a to-do list. Use an array to do a to-do list. And in between, we can play along. I don't need you. Okay. Because I'm going to have to disconnect this JavaScript here. But I will connect to do.js. Yes. So I'm just going to take this out and have a div. And this div, I could say h1 my to-do list. So let's see what this looks like. I don't have anything displayed in my to-do list. H1 has color white. So my to-do list, perfect. Now, next up, now as we have agreed, a to-do list is a collection of items, right? Collection of things you need to do, etc., etc. Okay, so now what we need to do here is we're going to add an item to the list and be able to type what we want. When we type what we want, we add, it reflects on the list. 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 That is what we are trying to achieve. So let's try to do that. Now, remember one of the classes we talked about UL being on ordered list, right? I think we did that. So we're just going to create a UL wrapper that's supposed to carry everything that has to do with the list. But just before that, we could create an input and then with a placeholder that says enter task. here. So I'm going to do this I'm going to do something else here. Div that task here, and then say button, and the button I could say add task. So let's see what this looks like first off. I will continue. Okay, perfect. Add task here, then add task. So it's been a while. We actually did some very interesting styling. So let's do some styling on this thing. Class to do header. To do header. I'm going to have to style this to do header. ID to do header. So let's say to do header display flex gap 3 pixel. So I can now say that to do header, we have a button there. So I can see that button should have a background color of 20F. I have a color of say 4 pixels. Have a padding, say 3 pixels. So better resolution should be about 6 pixels. Then that to do header also has an input. So the input, I'll say padding 3 pixels also. So put that here. None. So I'm going to intentionally split the borders here. I say border width 1 pixels, border color D7, border type, that's now solid. So let's see what this looks like. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. I still don't like how small the padding is. Padding 5 pixels. So let's do 8 pixels. And here we could do padding 8 pixels. Okay, so this looks relatively better. This looks relatively better. And then here we can have, say, 6 pixels. Margin top, 8 pixels. So this looks relatively nice, but I think I don't like how my button looks like. So I'm going to do something to the padding and say 8 pixels. 8 pixels. Okay, I think I like how the button now looks like. So I can say cursor. Cursor. So pointer. Okay, cool. So what we're trying to achieve here is to show by we can type in what we want, say by yam, and we can click on add task, and it adds this particular activity to our to-do list. And then there is going to be a remove button at the end to say, okay, yeah, I don't want to, I've done this particular task, I want to remove it. Yeah, so that is what we are aiming at achieving. So let's see how we can make that work. But first of all, let's do a simulation. So we can say li by yam. Whatever I write, please forgive my whatever I write. By yam. Let's see, read books. We can also say sweep the room. So what we're trying to achieve could be something that looks like this. This is what we're trying to achieve. But they would rather have x, which is more like to remove each of the items. to remove each of the items. So I'm going to have to make this an ordered list. Let me just make it an ordered list. Let's make it ordered. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Perfect, just perfect. So then we have our style. We're going to have to add a margin bottom. So I just imagine 8 pixels 0. So that we can have margin top and bottom, but no margin left and right. Okay, so have a look like what we're trying to achieve. But have a look like what we're trying to achieve. Why is my padding going? Okay. Padding. Oh, sorry, input. Oh, I was increasing the wrong padding. 8 pixels. This is the button that's supposed to have that padding increment. Okay, perfect. So we have what looks like a reasonably good design to work with. Okay, so now let's go back to the main thing we want to achieve. So I'm going to take out whatever I've written here. Take out whatever I've written here to now accommodate what we're trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve is an input field here. You click on this, it adds the item here. Yeah, so I'm going to first of all add a function, an ID here. I call this add btn. Also going to call this let's see, let me call this what do I call this then? What do I call this then? What do I call this then? ID input field. So I'm going to run a quick test and be sure that what we're doing would work, to be certain of what we're trying to achieve. So first off, we're going to say we have add btn. Let's try to keep this in our mind, and input field. Okay, cool. So document dot get element by ID. We have add btn. Let's add btn equals to document dot get element by ID. So add btn dot add event listener. Event listener should be click. That will do a function called add task. So that add task could do something. So what will add task do? So add task function add task now do an operation. We now trigger an operation that I want to use to test something first. So I would say let input content equals document dot get element by ID, and that ID is called input field. So I will say console.log input content dot value. So let's be sure that this actually gives me what I want for a status, which is the first thing I want to be sure. I want to be sure of first that we're not gonna have to dance too much today. Okay, console. So we say hello world. That's perfect. So we see that whatever I typed in here is being displayed here. So what that means is that I have succeeded in capturing whatever is in this input gotten the value, and then I am logging the value. But what I am trying to achieve on the long run is to create a list, whereby in that list I can now populate that list on the body of this particular to-do list here. So when I add this, for example, I add make a bar, I can say add task, I can say do JavaScript task, add task. So what I want is to share by it displays on this body and not on the console anymore, but it populates an array. Okay, so I'm going to create an array. Say let task equals box. Now, next up, add task. What am I adding here? I'm adding whatever is inside of this place, and I'm pushing it into this array. So what I would need to do first of all, I would need to check and be sure that input content.value is not empty. So I'm going to actually save this in a variable first. Let input value equals input content.value. If input value is not equal to empty, that's as long as it's not equal to empty, this dot task dot push, this dot task dot push. What am I pushing? Input value. And then so let's see, then I could console console.log. Let's be sure that we have achieved something for the first step. Console.log tasks. So let's see. So JavaScript task add cannot read undefined reading push. Why I'm using reading push? Okay, I'm using this. Sorry, I can't use this here. I not got it to where we can use this. Sorry about that. Okay, so do JavaScript task add. So we have an array called do JavaScript task. So if I say submit logbook add task, it is adding. So this is one item and this is the second item. So my array is actually working fine. So what I need to do next is I need to now look into this array. I need to look into this array and say, okay, fine, I have an array here. I need to now implement this array into this my document view, right? Into the document or right, whatever I want to call it. So function add task. When we now do that, we can now say it should trigger a function that could say refresh task list. Now, what would refresh task list do? Function refresh task list would now do something very interesting for us. So we're going to get let list container equals document dot get element by tag name. Tag name is OL. Then document dot create element. Li, creating an element called Li. I'm creating a list element. So I'll say this is list container, then list element equals document dot this. So we have that. So we can now see let's see what we're doing next. Okay, I think I'll have to do this inside of here. So for each array dot for each. So the array here is tasks tags dot for each element. So I can now say let's list element equals to that, and then I'm creating for each of them. I have to create this what's the name now? I have to create a list element for each of them. So I could say list element dot what's the word now? List element dot inner text is equal to element, which is what I'm looping in here for. So let's see. I want to do something very quickly. Let me be sure of something. Also, let's be very sure of certain things with regards to JavaScript console.log elements. Let's be sure that this loop actually works. So I have do JavaScript task add. Okay. Hold up. I think it's script task. Summary logbook. Okay, I think this works fine. I think I have this. That's why I'm having it twice. Let's be sure. Okay. Okay, perfect. Just perfect. So okay, so we have let's see. So we have this. We have this back. So we said this not inner HTML. So we can now list container dot append child element. So let's see if this, let's see how this works for us. Let's see how this works for us. List container dot append child. Why? What is problem? List container. Okay. So let me just use the regular one that I can use. Element by ID. So what's okay. So to do .js we have UL. So this should give me what I want. That's parameter one is not type of node. Why is it not a type of node? Content. Not a type, failure to execute. So let me figure out which error this is. That's array hold strings. So text must not be strings. So method reference a node object as its argument, which means you need to pass an actual DOM element like your list element. Okay. Look right in your fresh task list, you are directly passing the element, which is a string, to list container dot append child. Expects a node and not a string. Okay. Okay, I think we have to modify something very quickly. Have to modify something very, 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 very quickly. So I have to convert this to an object. That's the only way this will actually give me what I want. So tax.push, I'm going to have to do this. This input value comma is completed. It's completed should be false. Completed to be first. Okay. So I have element. So I have element dot input value. Element dot input value. Oh, sorry, I think I was even pushing the wrong thing. Sorry. Let's completely be sure of this. I was pushing the wrong thing. So I'm going to return this to what it was before. Input, just input value, because that should naturally work. So input value, I think this was where my mistake was. List container dot append child. I'm not supposed to append element. I'm supposed to append a node, which is list element. That was the error I didn't see. Okay, so I hope above all things that this should work now. At task, perfect. So it's actually empty at task. At task. Okay, good. Okay. So next up, we need to make sure that this actually displays on the content. So what we've just succeeded in doing is we just looped, but it actually has to display on the content. Yeah. So let's put this. Index. Okay, so this element that input value. JavaScript task. A task. But observe that it keeps repeats everything. So we have to do something to that. So we could say from here we can say list container dot inner HTML is equal to empty. And then once we push, we can now say input value, input content rather, input content dot value should be equals to empty, and it's done. So let's see what this gives us. The JavaScript task, add submit logbook, add hello, add hello world, and add. So we have actually implemented our to-do list using one, not very correctly. We have actually used an array method called push. So what push does here is that we have an array and we have an item we want to push into this array. In this case, the item is the value from this particular input field, which we are pushing into this array. Now, in some situations, we might necessarily need to make it an object. We might necessarily need to make it an object like I was trying to do earlier. So I'm going to make this an object like I was trying to do earlier. So I can say task.push input value is completed. So at that point, here instead of having just element, I'll have element.input value, because the dot notation is used to actually access items inside an object. Okay, so we could have do JavaScript task add, submit logbook add, but now we can now make use of this our is completed, which is an object. So I'm also going to create something. Let's check a box was document dot create element. And the element should be input. I'm going to create an input element. So that's the checkbox. So checkbox dot field dot type equals. So this is going to clash if I do what I'm about to do. So let's just do checkbox here like this. Checkbox dot type equals to checkbox. Equals to checkbox. Checkbox.checked, which is an attribute of checkbox. So I'm going to toggle the checked abilities of this checkbox equals element dot is completed. So I can still say checkbox please be direct. Checkbox dot add event listener. So add event listener. The event listener here would be click, and in that click, I could not say the function should be toggle checkbox. Toggle checkbox. Toggle checkbox. Double checkbox and should have a key, an index. So before I would now append this guy here, I would have to first append list element that's append child. Append child check box. So that's before I would now. So let's see how this looks like. So we have the first tags, two JavaScript tags. Double checkbox is not defined. Sorry, I need to define that function for it to eventually work. So let me just define the function, even though I'm not going to use it for anything at the moment. Function double checkbox index return index. So let's see how this would work. So do JavaScript tags. This is error coming from again, list element dot this element that I've been child. That should work. This is error coming from this element dot append child checkbox element dot text content. This should work. So why am I having error? Parameter 2 is not type of object. Oh, okay, so it's an event is not it's about to stress me dot on click. So let me just use an arrow function and try to implement that. It doesn't stress me unnecessarily. So checkbox dot on click, toggle event listener, toggle checkbox. So this should give me what I want. Attacks. So there's a checkbox here that actually checks if this event is actually completed or not. So which means that I can actually decide what I pass into this is completed. So that will now require me to do something else. So let me add what we call a select box. I'm going to add a select box here. So we have inputs, and then I'm going to add select. I'm going to add select. Going to add select, and I can say ID select box. Like I have three options. Option one value is value here, value 2 completed, and this would be not completed, and the value here would be false. Okay, so let's see what this looks like at the moment. Good. So completed and not completed. Okay, so we're going to have to do something to this guy. My style.css. Since this is input, I'm just going to do the same thing with input and then select. Say select. Okay, perfect. So we have enter the task, select whether it's completed or not, and then add task. So let's do that. So I'm going to actually have to add the select field value into this operation. So then I also have to have let's constant and select box. Select my document or get element by ID. The ID is select box. So select box. Okay. Let's select box value. Okay, so we're going to now have is completed would now be the select box value. Okay, so select box select box dot value. So if it's completed, will now be what select box value would be. So moving forward, let's see what this gives us and how it works. I just so do JavaScript tasks complete, not completed at task. Why is it showing me not why is it showing me completed when it's not completed? Okay, so let's see completed at task. So everything's just checking and checked and checked and unchecked. Shouldn't be that way. So let's look at something here. It's completed. Remember, it's completed. So let me see. I want to see the values of this to be sure of what we are doing here. So.log tasks. So let me be sure of what we're doing here to know what exactly is rendering. Submit logbook, not completed at task. It's completed, not completed. Oh, shoot. Okay, okay. Okay. It's actually getting this exact value, which means that I have to change the method I'm using to actually get the value. Okay, I'm thinking of I want to pass the true or false here. So let's do something different. Let's do a different level of manipulation. Select box value is this box dot selected index. Select box value equals to select box dot selected index. Selected index. So okay, so this should be selected index. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so constant select box value is now equals to select box dot options at a selected index dot value. So let's see, this would give us what we need at that hand. So let's see if this will give us what we are hoping to achieve. If this does not give us what we're hoping to achieve, we have to move on because this was not actually the score we are trying to do today. So let's see. It's still giving me not completed and completed. So I guess I'll have to okay. Let's try this. Let's try this and see what this gives me. This doesn't give what I'm looking for. I'll just move on. Because this was okay. Okay, good. It's completed false and true. So now it's giving me the false and true that I need. So considering the fact that it's giving me this that I need, I'm going to actually have to do a conversion. Okay, I'm going to actually have to do a conversion. So the conversion I have to do is to convert this to Boolean, Convert this to Boolean. So let's see if this actually works the way I want it to work now. Not completed a task. True, perfect. It's completed true. Let's see if this works. It's completed. Why is it giving me true and true and true and true? So that takes us back to something. Completed 1, not completed 0. Not completed. Something is not adding up here. Something isn't adding up here. Something is not adding up here. Sometimes a child, something not adding up here. Something isn't adding up here. Okay. So I'm just gonna have to store what I need to store here. Let's see if let's try this here. Okay. It's completed 0. So it's 27, 1 and 0, which means it should work the way it should work. For whatever reason that is not converting this to Boolean, I can't explain right now. And that is the list of my worries right now. That's the list of my worries right now. It's supposed to convert that to Boolean, but for some reason it's not doing that. So I'm just going to have to let it be. Just gonna have to let it be. For whatever reason, it's not willing to convert itself. So just have to let it be. So far we've been able to actually build our to-do list to just have a task. So ideally, our tasks are added to the system. Our tasks are created and it works as it should work. Now, next up, we need to be able to add another thing called delete button. So let's add a delete button to this. Let's create a delete button and add this. So I'm also going to create constant create element. This guy shouldn't be here. So the guy should be can be here. So this is create checkbox. This is create checkbox. Create list elements. And this is add list elements. Content. Append checkbox. List elements. Next to we now have to create delete button. So we can say constant delete btn equals document dot create element button dot text content equals to delete task. So let's see. So we can say append button to list element. So we have list element dot append child. The child about appending will delete btn. So let's see if this works as it should work. So add task and say do JavaScript task, add task. Button is not defined. Button, the element is button. Yes, it's called button. Okay, so let's do it this way. Impute. Oh, sorry. That was actually correct. That was my mistake. So delete btn dot text content was the btn task. Yep. Submit logbook. Add task. So we have delete task, we have this, and we have this. So so that's delete task. So I can now say let me just do some styling from JavaScript. Delete btn dot style dot background color is equals to hash is F00000. And then we also have delete btn dot style dot color is equals to hash ff delete btn dot style dot add-in is equals 8 pixel 12 pixels. So let's do what we need to do. Add task. Okay, delete btn, delete task, and that, and that, and that. So let's do some styling, additional styling. Li display x tab 20 pixels. Okay. Items, align items, items center. Okay, that's perfect. Then list style. There's a name. List style is not necessary then. So index, where is it to do the JS? So delete btn dot border dot style dot border is equals to none. Delete btn dot style. So I could actually have just created a class, right? So forgive me, I'm just showing off. Yes. So I could have just created a class and then what's the word? And use that class to just implement all this styling I am doing. So forgive me, I just feel like showing off, and that's why I'm actually having to do all these things in JavaScript, which is technically not necessary. Delete tags. I think I'll spot that delete tags button. Okay. So I'm also going to have to add an click to that button. So the button would be delete btn dot on click equals to remove task and index rather. So we also have function task index. So what this would give us is that we'll have to say tasks.splice, tasks.splice, the index, and then remove one item. Tasks.splice, the index, then remove one item. And then when we're done with that, we'll still refresh task list. We're still going back to this double checkbox. That's not been forgotten. So we have to do task add, submit logbook add, hello world add. Okay, so let me do something quickly also to this. So this is UL, right? UL, yes. So I'm going to style the UL. To style the UL and say display flex direction column tab 5 pixels. So that 5 pixels is too small, so let's make it 10 pixels. So I can delete this task, I can delete this task, I can delete this task. Do this. Hello world. So I'm adding task. Say this is my second task. Add task. But it won't add as long as there's nothing inside of here, so it will not add anything. So we can actually delete, 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 and delete. So we have actually implemented a few things using some array methods, right? some array methods. So I feel like I should add something very quickly. I'm tempted to actually add something, but I'm looking at time, and I think we are behind. We already exhausted our time for today. I'd love to add a situation whereby you just have a back button that removes the first item on the list or the last item on the list. But I think I would have to do that on Wednesday while I let you digest this subject of some array methods and the to-do list. Yeah, so that is for that.